1 second, yeah. Okay, 1 second.
Hi, Jean.
Hey, Jean.
Hi.
Hey, we just started. Yeah, no worries, no worries. You didn't miss anything. Huh?
Okay, luckily.
Yeah. All right. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to share my screen so you guys can see it. And yeah, let's start. So, oh, then I got to mute my phone. Wait 1 second, yeah. All right. Okay, just preparing things. And yeah. All right, great. So if you can see my screen, feel free to let me know, yeah? But yeah, so here's my screen. Let me share you guys a link to this repo right here. Okay, so this is our template repo. You guys can clone this one. And yeah, do let me know after you have cloned it, and we'll go through this one, right? So what you can do now is to clone this repo is to just click on this button right here, code, and then click on this little clipboard icon, right? And once you click on it, and then you can go to your terminal or whatever terminal is you're using, or you can download it as a zip file right here, all right? So after you have downloaded it, then what I'm going to do is I'm just going to clone this right here, okay? I've cloned this one. Okay. Now, once I'm done with this one, what I'm going to do is I'm going to clear my console and then go to the intro to Express right here. Okay.
Yo, what's up, guys?
Hey, Derek.
Hey, how's it going? Why no one on their camera one?
Yeah, no one's on their camera. Sad, right?
Hey, guys, come on. Hey, how's everyone doing? Wow, man. Hey, guys, you straight away started the class already.
Yeah, because like I think today's introduction is gonna be a lot to cover, right? Yeah, no, Express is like, I mean like Express lah, so backend thing lah.
Hey, dude, Ayman. Hey, a lot of old names, man. I haven't saw you in a long time already. Jean also never saw you. Paul Yizi also never saw you. Hey, guys, come on your camera for a while. Let's take a group picture. It's been a while.
Yeah.
Hey, Yizi, Yuchin, Hasro. Sorry to interrupt the session, guys. Just very excited to So we've been. Hey, Jean, nice to meet you. It's been a while since we actually did all these community events and all that, and we're changing the entire model, right? So I felt like let's just involve you guys more, organize more of these events, and put more people in one group so you guys can talk to each other also. And I thank you so much for understanding. For the past few months, you've been a bit away, and thanks for understanding. Now we're still not fully back yet, but we are slowly ramping up 1 to 2 events every week at least. Okay, so hey, cool, man. I'm gonna take a picture now. Just say hi. 3, 2, 1. Wait. Sorry, with my hand.
All right, one more coming in. Yeah.
Oh, one more.
Yeah.
Sorry, guys. One more.
One more.
Hey, Sim, wanna open up your camera? Just taking a group picture now. 3, 2, 1. Okay, awesome. Cool.
Nice.
By this session, man. Okay, guys, continue on.
You can see me? I'm right here.
Yeah, continue on.
Oh, continue on. I thought you said you can see me. Okay. All right, great. So yeah, let's continue. So right here, I just found the Express one, right? The one that I sent you in the chat, which I can send you guys again right here, because yeah, some of you guys that join, I'm just joining. All right. So this is the repo right here, and then do clone this one, and after that, then just feel free to go inside your terminal or whichever terminal you're using. What I'm going to do is I'm just going to open this up in the VS Code right here, and then I have added a README file. Okay, so inside this README file, you can just click on this one and then open preview, right? And then just run through this one. All right. So right here, I just added a some introduction to how you can prepare your environment and install all the Express and Node.js and whatever you want in here. All right. So yeah, let's go through this one, and this is the README file. Yeah, so you can check it out by yourself. And what I'm going to do is make sure you have a Node.js installed before you install them. Install the Express or whatever. So because this is a Node.js library, Express is a. So yeah. So I'm just going to check my Node version. So I have installed 12.16.1. But if you don't have a Node.js installed, just go to the nodejs.organization and then download the latest one right here. Okay. So currently they have the 15.14, which you don't want. You want the LTS version, which stands for long-term support. Yeah. So yeah, do download this one, and yeah, and then after that, let's check for npm as well. See whether npm is installed or not, right? So I'm just going to click on this now. Yeah. So I have an npm as well, 7.6.0, right? Okay. So, and then you might or you may not need a Git, but because I need this one so that I can pull and push the new changes. But if you have this one, then yeah, it's good. So make sure that you check for your GitHub Git version as well, right here. Okay. Now after that, it asks you to clone this repo. Okay, so open the folder you just cloned in your code editor. You should have a few files already created, which we have right here, right? Ignore, git ignore, and the server.js. There's nothing here, right? So inside here, node modules, I've ignored the node modules folder right here, right? Which I will explain later why I want to ignore this, but you can read this one if you want to get an idea on why we ignore that file folder right here, okay? Now in here, it asks you to run the npm init. Why? You should see it inside your, okay. You should see package.json in your folder. Now you can install Express library using npm. To install it, simply enter npm install Express. So what I'm going to do is in here in the terminal, I'm just going to type npm init y, right? The one that I just got from here. This code right here, okay? This command. Now when I type it, then I'm gonna get a lot of like output right here, okay? So and then you should have a package.json right here, which you can see it, okay? Now inside here, what we're gonna do is we need to install Express, okay? So right here is in your package.json file, you should have an Express listed as a dependency, all right? So because we want to install Express as well. So if you go to your package.json, you don't have an Express right here, okay? So just install this one, npm install Express, okay? Because this is the command right here that I did. Now if I hit enter, what this is gonna do is gonna install Express and then add it in here in the dependency object, okay? So right now, because we ignore the node modules folder inside here, all right? So because we don't want this node modules folder to be tracked in Git history. So the way you reinstall Express is to just run the edit inside here in the dependency, so that whenever you run npm install again, then npm is going to reinstall all the dependencies for you right here listed inside this object, okay? So that's how it's doing. So that's why you always want to ignore the node modules, because like if you don't ignore them, then yeah, that file is quite huge. Because like I can show you guys right now. All right. So you can see it's 2 MB, but it's not much, but you know what I mean? Because like when you have a really large project, then it can go up to 1 gigs or even like 2 gigs right here. But then, you don't want to push that file to GitHub because like, yeah. And then once you clone that repo, then, your file is this file is gonna take a while to download. So that's why you always add it inside the git ignore. But then, if you want to reinstall all these dependencies on your local machine, right here is where it has. Okay, so now all I have to do is run the npm install again to reinstall all my dependency. Okay, so say like I deleted this folder right here or accidentally deleted it, right? Now I don't have the node modules anymore. You can see that. So all I have to do now is just run npm install, okay, to reinstall that dependencies right here. So now if I go there and then click on refresh, you can see the node modules is back. Okay, so yeah, because like it's tracked in here in the dependencies object. All right. Okay, so right here in the server.js file, right? So you guys have this run, right? Let me go there and then push this code up. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to push this one. Okay, because like I've added the package.json and package.log.json right here. So what I'm going to do is just push these two. Okay. Edit express. Okay. Okay, it's gonna take a while. It's like my GitHub is like kind of buggy. All right, done. So after I push this file, then if I refresh my GitHub, then I should see my comment in here, which I do, right? Okay. So yeah, we just went through all these one because like this one is like a preparing my environment right here because like we want to this one just a quick introduction to AO, npm and everything right here. But what we need to do now is because like we want to build a express, right? Now what is a backend and what is express? Okay. So does anyone know what a front end and backend means? Anyone want to volunteer? What are these terms stand for? Backend and front end. Like in your understanding, what is it, right? Anyone want to volunteer?
Front end is something user can see.
Okay. And what about backend?
Backend is only like the stuff that something user cannot see and where all the code running or the function method.
Yeah, that's right. Because like backend is what users doesn't see. So for example, let's say like you're trying to, I mean like you have used your phone already, right? And you are browsing let's say like trying to browse shop something in your Lazada app or whatever. So normally you can search the items, okay, in the search bar or wherever you want, right? And then how would you do it? So you just put in the keyword that you want to search and that's it. But then what's really happening behind the scene is you're actually sending an API request to the backend. Okay, so API request means you are actually sending that string to the backend right here. So for example, let's say like I'm trying to let me just show you an example right here. So let me go to the GitHub. Okay, my GitHub account. Yeah. So and then inspect right here. Okay, so you can see that right here, right? Now let me refresh this one. Okay, you can see a lot of network requests going on in here, right? Because we're sending some requests to the GitHub server right here. So, and then if I scroll all the way up, you can see that there's a github.com. Now, if I open this one and then click on preview, I got this response from a GitHub server, which I sent it to the GitHub. Okay, so you can see that right here. And it's an HTML file. Okay, so there it is right here. Because GitHub server is always listening to the request, and those are called API. Okay, So what is an API? API actually stands for Application Programming Interface, right here. Okay. So you can read this if you want, but yeah, API and a backend, they are the same thing right here. Okay. Now, backend is what the most people call, but actually it stands for the API right here. So API is you build an API, and then your front end request to it. So right here, this is the front end. Now, whenever I click on something right here, say like I want to go to my stars right here. So if I click on this now, so you can see that this is my front end, because right here I can click on it. But actually what's happening behind the scene is, there's a request right here that I sent to the GitHub server. Okay, so GitHub returns me all the stars that I have in my account. Okay, so a lot of it right here. Okay, this is the request that I sent, request URL, and here's the response. So it actually returns as a HTML file right here. You can see that. Okay. Now another simple example would be a fetch API. Sorry, not the fetch API, JSON placeholder. You guys can go to this one and then test it out. But most of you guys have used this one, right? So if I go to the guide, okay, and then you can see that if I try to let's just copy this link and paste that in here. So when I type in this URL in my search bar, I get this response back. Okay, this is like a very simple document right here. Okay. So if I open my network tab and then click it again, so and then scroll all the way up to the above one, and you can see that I actually sent a request to this URL, and I got a response of this object right here. Okay. So because like I sent my request through the request URL, and I got a response. So this is called API request. So I actually sent a request to this, server, and then server responds me with all these objects and everything right here. Okay. So this is called like a API request. Okay. So a front end is what the user sees and what they interact, but a front end makes an API request through your through your backend server. So that's how you're gonna build a backend server right here. Okay. So normally, let's say like you're trying to browse a Facebook, for example. Now you're scrolling through all the Facebook, and then you like a post. Now what actually happened is whenever you click on that like button, your front end application is going to send a request to the Facebook server, and then it's gonna say that you actually like the post. So after that, then a Facebook is going to store that information in their database so that another user, will come in and then they get a notification saying that you like their post. So yeah, that's the API request and everything going on. Okay. So right here, I can see that. All right, anyway, so let's come back here and then see how an API server is built right here, right? Because like, right here, what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go to the intro to Express, okay? And then inside the server.js forward file right here, I'm going to require Express, okay? Because like we just installed in the package.json right here, right? So we can always require Express right here, okay? And then after that, I'm going to initialize Express right here, okay? Like this. All right. So what this is going to do is it's going to import Express that we install in the node modules. All right. And then it's going to create an instance of an Express right here. Okay. Let's just add a comment. Create an instance. Okay. So now what I can do now is this is my Express app already. Okay. My Express. So what I'm going to do is app.listen. I'm going to tell my app Express to listen on port 8000, okay? And then pass in the callback function right here. Now I'll explain this later, but yeah, let's just type in and then be done with this one. A server is now listening. All right, so what actually happening is right here when I say app.listen, right? So this one, I'm telling my app to listen on port 8000 right here, okay? So, and then I'm calling back this function called a server is now listening. So whenever I run this file now, okay, right here, if you want to run a Node.js file or JavaScript file, you just type in node, okay, and then the name of the file that you want to run. In this case, I want to run the server.js right here, okay, so node server.js. So when I type in now, you can see a server is now listening. Now, why is this being output right here? And what is going on is actually not stopping, okay? It's always running behind the scene and in the background as well. Because Express app will run as long as you have the, your browser, your app is listening. So if I want to stop this one, I have to hit Control+C, Control+C, yeah, to stop that one, okay? Now, because my app is now listening on port 8000 right here, it's actually live, okay? Now, when I say live, I can go to my localhost 8080 right here, 8000 right here, sorry. And then you can see that it says cannot get, okay? Right here, there's an error. But if I inspect, so right here, and then let me try to stop this, server right here, and then show you the difference. Now, if I refresh now the error message looks different. Okay, why is this happening? Well, what is happening right here? Because if my server is not running at the moment, right? So when I go to localhost 8000 right here, nothing is returned because my server is not there. So server is not live. Now when I run my server and then refresh, the error message is different because my server is there listening for requests, but actually it's not responding anything. So that's why there's an error right here because we're not responding anything, are we? My server is there. Even though my server is there, it says cannot get, meaning that it's not returning anything. So it's just there, but doing nothing right here, even though the server is now listening. Now if I control it, stop my server now there's no request or whatever right here. I cannot connect, right? Because there's no server at all. So yeah, that's what's happening. So when I say app.listen, it's actually going to listen on my machine, and it's always waiting for connection. Okay, so yeah, that's what it's trying to do right here. Okay, let me just stop this one and then push this code, yeah, because I feel like this is necessary if I want to do this. Okay, my comment message is different now. Let me just re-add my comment now. All right, done. So you guys can go to this one and then just pull the changes right here. So if you want to get all the latest commits, then in this folder, you type git pull to pull the latest change. But right now, it should say already up to date because I have just pulled. So yeah, but if you haven't, then when typing in git pull, you should get all the latest change. Okay. So yeah, any questions though, by the way, before I proceed? If any questions, then do feel free to ask it in the group or just unmute yourself and then ask me. Okay. All right, cool guys. So yeah, let's move on. So right here, we just added a server that is doing nothing at the moment. Okay, it's there, but actually it has to return something, right? if we were trying to build a serious server right here, but right now it's doing nothing. Okay, so we need to fix that. Now, what is a server? What is the purpose of a server right here, or an API, right? So API stands for Application Programming Interface, as I said before. Now, for example, let's say like, you have a TV, and then you are trying to connect to change a channel via your remote. How would you do it? You take a remote and then you change it via your remote, right? So that's how you do it. But then what is an API? So that's it. That is like, you're doing it by yourself, because like you have to take a remote and then you have to switch it right here. But an API actually stands for Application Programming Interface, right? Okay. Now, normally, front end and back end, both of them right here. Front end is what the user sees, right? User sees, user interact, and they click on a button and they search and they do all sort of things. But a back end is what actually powering this front end right here. So your front end uses the back end to run this application. For example, Facebook wouldn't be here without their Facebook server. Okay, so for example, YouTube, you're trying to browse YouTube, and then you watch a video. So whenever you try to watch a video, you're actually sending a request from a YouTube app to the Google server, and then Google server is going to respond you with the video right here. So yeah, that's called API right here. Okay, so applications are making a request, not you. So they're all automatic. All right. So right here, we're going to build a very simple to-do app. Okay. Now there are 4 types of requests. Now what are requests, right? Because like you want to send a request from a front end to your backend. So to send a request from your front end to your backend, you have to define a type of a request that you are sending. So say like you want to get a message. Get message, or get to-dos, for example. Okay. Now your front end, right? Your front end sends a request, and they are trying to get all the to-dos. Okay. Get to-dos right here. Okay. Now to get the to-dos, how would you do it? Your front end, okay, sends a request to your API, and that's it. But your API needs to be defined right here. Okay. If you want to get all the to-dos, you would send a request type of get request right here. Okay. Get request. So get request is going to return, okay, or it's going to return all the to-dos right here. In this case right here, right? But then there's another request called post and get, which I will go through it later. But for now, let's just worry about get request. Okay, so let me try to show you an example right here, which I have. So you can see that if I refresh now, and then scroll all the way up, and then click on this number 1, click on the headers. And what is the type of the request that I sent, or request method right here, right? Method. It's a get request, because like I'm trying to get this post. Okay, right here. So this is called get request. It's gonna actually return something. Okay, so that's called get request. Right here, response and review, and you can see that. Okay. Now there's another request called post. Post request. Okay, post request is gonna add something to your app, to your API, for example. Okay. As the name says, they are all post mean post something, and get mean get something right here. There's only 4 types of requests. Okay, which I'll explain 2 of them right here. There's another one called put and update. Okay. Oh, sorry, not update. Put and delete. I almost forgot. Yeah. So get is going to get the data for me, okay, and post is going to post the new data. So if I go to the JSON placeholder, and then you can see that we're trying to send a get request right here, okay. So this is going to return all these. I can show you guys. If I go to this page now, post, I'm actually sending a request type of get request right here to this server or to this API, right? So I get all these posts, a lot of them, all right? Now this looks different than this one because you can see that we're actually creating a resource, okay? So because we are creating a resource now, we have to actually define a method of post or send a request of post. Hey, Jean, no worries, yeah. Yeah, all right. So right here, right, you can see that, okay, we are creating a resource, so we have to define a method of post, okay? And then we have to pass in the body because we're actually adding something, right, to our API. So we have to define title and body and user ID and blah, 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 and whatever they, request right here, okay? So yeah, that's the creating the resource. And that's the whole concept of API right here. API job is to serve something and to do something so that your front end can use. So because you need an API whenever you try to build, you build a, a web application, say you're trying to build a front end, social media app, you probably need an API because you want to get all the users and you want to, store the users in the database and so on. Because if not, then how would you gonna store your users, right? You need a database to build a successful web application. So a database is nothing but just nothing, right? So a database is probably just there to store the data. But the API is what actually storing the data in the database. So whenever you send a request, so say whenever you're trying to create a post, okay, in your newsfeed or whatever, you send a request right here, and after that, your API is gonna add that data to your database. So yeah, API is a middleman between your front end and your database. So you can think of it like a, for example, front end, okay, and there's backend, and there's database. Okay, so your front end is what the users use, right? And your backend is what you design, because backend and database talks to each other. Okay, so database does not talk to anyone, but database is now mutated by the backend right here. So for example, if you're trying to add new user to your database, then your API should have exposed it right here. All right, your front end will call the, let's say, backend right here, and then backend is gonna add the new user to the database right here. Okay. Anyway, so to define a, to create a new route means a, different route. Because you can see that if I go to this page, okay, now this is a URL, right, or a route, okay. Whenever I go to this route, I get this response. But if I try to go to this post one, I get a different response, right? So based on the route, it's actually returning different data, okay? So if I go back now, you can see that I got all the posts because URL matches the data that it's returning, right? Because I'm trying to get all the posts. Now I get this one, okay? Now if I try to get just one post now, okay, I get just one post right here. By the way, this is an ID, yeah? Not a number one, ID of the post. Because there's an ID that is equal to 1 right here. So I get a post that ID is equal to 1. If I try to go to the post number with 2, you can see that ID is now different. Okay? Yeah, so that's what actually returning right here. Anyway, so to make these routes, okay, for example, right here, get request, right? get. So we are creating a new route called get. Okay. So say like I want to get all the to-dos. I would define a route with the to-dos right here. Okay. And then right here, I'm going to have a request and a response. This one stands for request and response right here. Okay, these variables. REQ is a shorthand for request, and RES is shorthand for response, but you can always name them however you like. So you can call this one request or ABC or whatever, right? It doesn't care. As long as the first one is equal to the request and the last one is equal to response. So I can call this one RESPOND right here. Okay. So right here, this variable will contain all the requests from your front end. So for example, let's say like, your client sends a request, their information will be stored in this parameter or in this variable right here. Okay. So their browser and their, user ID and everything is related to it will be stored inside here. Okay. And the response is going to be what you respond back to the client. Okay. So when I say respond.send, and then I'm just going to say something, hello world right here. There's some normal string now. Okay. Now see what happens if I save, yeah? So I've just created a new route to-dos. Okay. So whenever I go to this route, then I should get a response of a hello world. Okay. And that's what it's trying to do. It's like I'm saying, send the response of this string right here. So if I save now, okay, and then run my file again, my server is now listening. So, and my server is now listening at which port? 8000 right here. Okay. So I can go to 8000 and then I have to specify a route. So in this case, what is the route that I'm trying to go? It's like I just created a route called to-dos right here, right? So I can go to this route called to-dos. Now get a response of hello world. So you can see that API's job is to wait for requests and then respond to it. Okay, so that's actually an API or backend. Their job is to, like make a wait for a connection or wait for a request and then send a response to it right here. Okay. So because I went to it right here, to-dos, I got a response of hello world. Okay. Now I can send a different response, and let's say 222 for example. Whenever you change your server, by the way though, you have to stop it manually and then restart it again. Yeah. But yeah, if you're wondering then why it doesn't work, because like you didn't stop the server right here. Okay. Let me refresh now. Okay, I got a response of 222. Okay. And if I move this now and then save it again, come back here, refresh, I still get a different response, even though I just said hello world right here. Now, because I didn't stop my server, you have to stop and restart your server manually. Okay. Now it works. Yeah, so, but to fix this one, you can use a very cool utility called nodemon. Okay, nodemon. Instead of node, you can just say nodemon server.js. Okay. Now, whenever I, save change to my files, then it's going to restart my server automatically. Okay. Restarting due to changes, you can see that right here. Okay. Save it again, restarting due to changes, and so on. And by the way, if you want to install this one, right, just say npm install nodemon right here. Okay, nodemon. All right. So you can see it's pretty cool that what we can do with this one. So yeah, let's try to build a very simple to-do app right here. Okay, what I'm going to do is I'm going to create a mock data. Now mock data means something that's actually not related to our app, but what's actually it is just a mock data. Okay, means that it's okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to create a array of objects. Okay, data. So, and then just simple to do app, right? First one will be first to do, and the ID will be equal to 1, and yeah, that should be enough, I guess. So let's create some more. Let's have a 2 to do and 3. So, and then I'm going to change the ID to 1, 2, and 3. Oh, and by the way, yeah, when I say mock data, the actual data you should be using is actually from database. Okay, so this data should come from your database. Now your database should be like something like MongoDB, if you have heard it. I don't know whether you guys have heard about it. This one, MongoDB. Yeah. Or you can use something like a SQL database if you want, right? But databases are not hard, yeah, I repeat, because database are just, as the name says, they are databases. They're just there to store the data, okay? You shouldn't make some like custom business logic or whatever in the database, because like they are there just to store the data, make it persistent across your app, right? Now your custom logic or whatever logic that you put in, custom business logic, for example, let's say like, trying to find a match for different users, you would put it actually inside your API, your backend right here, okay? So yeah, that's how you do it. So mock data means that actual data that comes from a database, okay? So, but we don't have a database right now, so I just made a mock data right here, okay? Now, instead of sending back the hello world now, what I can do is I can send this data back, okay? So now whenever I try to get all the to-dos, I'll get these 3 to-dos right here. Now let me save this now and then refresh. Oops, what happened? Oh, my server is not running. So I'm just gonna say node server.js. And there should be it. All right. And there we go. So you can see that I got a response of these 3 to-dos. Okay. Now I can show you guys that this looks similar, okay, to what I just showed you in here. So you can see that it looks similar because like we're trying to get all the posts. In this case, we're trying to get all the to-dos. Okay. Now if I hover over it and then open this one, click on the header, and I actually send a request method of get. Okay. Because like this is a get request right here, get route, right? So you can see the response, preview, okay, and it's actually a JSON data, JavaScript object. Okay. So yeah, that's how you define a get route. All right. Now, if you want to say like, filter out the to-dos, okay? For example, let's say you don't want to return a number 3 to-dos, the to-do with an ID of 3. How can you do it? Well, you can just filter out in here, right? So before actually sending the response, you can just say data.filter and then filter the data. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to say let filter to-dos. Okay. And this is the data filter, all right? ID that does not equal to 3. So it's actually going to return me only the ID with an R1 of 2 right here. Okay, it's gonna filter out the to do with an ID of 3. So I can just say there's the send or filter. Okay. Now if I save now and come back here, then you can see that the last to do is gone. okay? Because I just filter right here. So that's how you should do your, filtering and everything. So for example, say like, a user is trying to store a to-do in to your app, to your database. Now, before they actually send a request to your, after they send a request to your API, okay, you want to filter or check the to-do title, whether they have the profanity or whatever, right? And then filter out the, bad words, and then just after then only save it. So yeah, that's how you should do it. All right, anyway, another one that I want to look through is called dynamic routes, okay? Now this one is static right here. I know that whenever I go to this to-dos route, I'll get all the to-dos right here, okay? Let me see this now, show you guys. So you can see that I got all these to-dos, okay? It's very simple right here, you can see that, okay? But what if I want to do something like this? So whenever I go to this post /ID of 1, I'm gonna get a post with an ID of 1. And then if I go to the post with an ID of 2, not this one, post ID 2, then I can only get a post with an ID of 2, okay? And the same goes for 10 and 100 and so on. Right here, you can see that. Okay, now I want to build something like this. How can I do that? Well, you can use something called a variable or dynamic routes. Okay, dynamic routes means that it's actually dynamic. Okay, so the parameters are always changing, like this right here, or the route variable right here. Okay, how can you create such routes like this? Okay, so we gotta make a new route. Okay, and it's a to-dos right here. Now I can just say :ID. Now this route is now dynamic. Some of you who have used view router may know this one. Okay, they are something like a parameter. Okay, so for example, this :ID is a parameter now. Okay, so and it will be dynamic. It acts like a variable right here. Okay, variable means that you can assign this to any value. Okay, so when I say to-dos 1, this route will be matched because this is a variable right here, this :ID. Okay, I can say 2, I can say 3, I can say 4, I can say 5. It's always gonna be an ID right here. Okay, so anyway, how do I access this ID right here? Okay, I can just say, and you have to have it access it through the request right here because this is part of a request, right? Isn't it? So a user will send something like a 1, 2, or 3, and they are part of a request. Okay, so you have to access it through the request variable. So you can say request.params.id, the name of the variable. So which is this case is an ID right here. So if I change this to ID2, then I should say ID2. Okay. So now we have access to this variable in here. What we can do now is to-do. I can just filter get the to-do with an ID that is equal to request.parameter.id right here. Okay. So what I'm going to do is data.filter d ID is equal to request.params.id right here. Okay, so meaning that it's gonna only return me a object, all right, that is equal to whatever the user parameter, whatever this variable is equal to. So if I try to send a request with a to-dos of 1, then it's only gonna return this. Okay, and then same goes for 2 and 3 right here. And finally, I can just say respond.send to-do. Okay, because if I save now and then go back and then test it out, Let me leave this. Now this route still works, but if I go to the number 1 and I get nothing back, why is this happening? Let's debug. ID. Oh, do you know why? Because I check for triple equal. Okay, triple equal means that it's going to check for the type as well as the value. So even though one is equal to 1, right? Because they are the same type, number and number. But 1 does not triple equal to 1 because this is a type of string. Meanwhile, this is a type of a number. So if you don't want to do type check-in as well, then take out the do a double check-in only, right? If you remember the JavaScript. So let's take this one out and then try this again now. There we go. So it worked. Okay. Now if I try to get the to do with an ID of 2 now, then I'm going to get a 2 to 2. Okay, which works. Then what about 3? Still works. And what if I try to get it to do that does not exist? 100. And it's going to return nothing, meaning that it doesn't exist. So you can see that right here. Okay. Now you might be wondering what is this send means, right? Let me try to show you an example right here. Let me take out this code and then save it now. Okay, let me reload this page. And you will see that it will go on forever, this loading icon. Now, why is this? Because there's a server running and there's a route defined, okay, which we are sending a request. But this route is not returning anything, okay, or not responding anything. So it's going to go on forever, okay, unless you stop your server right here. So now let me save it now. And there we go, it works now, okay. Yeah, it works. All right. Anyway, I'm going to show you another example called, postman as well, insomnia. I mean, like this is just a tool, a program that you can use to test your API right here. I use an insomnia, but if you're wondering, then you can use the postman as well, right? Postman. Yeah, postman, and then click on the API client. Yeah, you gotta sign up and download it again. But yeah, if you don't want to use Postman, you can use an Insomnia as well. They're not too different. If you cannot download Insomnia, just download a Postman. Basically, they're the same tool, but from different companies, right? So yeah, Insomnia acts like your front end for your backend. So right now, so far, we've just been testing it through our API. We're just using the normal browser right here to test our, whether it works or not, and then yeah, fill in. This works. But yeah, there's another way you can test your routes right here. It's using Insomnia. So if I want to get, all the to-dos now, I have to switch the type right here. You notice this? So the method, okay? So for example, if I try to send a post method, then I would have to switch it right here like this. So yeah, in this case, I just want to get, right? Get to-dos means that return me all the to-dos. So if I send this request now, you can see that I got a response. Okay, 200 means it's okay. So there's no error, right? Let me try to get a to-do with an ID of 3 now. It still works, okay? What happens if I try to get a to-do with an ID of 100? Still works. Even though there's no to-do, okay? It didn't throw an error right here because this is a JavaScript array, right? All right. So you can see that to-dos is 200, okay? Cool. Now, one last thing before, we go any further, and that's called, so far we've just been doing get route, Now, what is a get route? Get will return something. That's it, right? So there's another one, and that one is very useful. It's called post. Okay, this is called dynamic route. Yeah, by the way, this is a static route. Static route means the route does not change. It stays as it is. Okay, and this one is a dynamic. Okay, the route change based on the ID. Okay, and this one is a post route. Now, what is a post route? So whenever you try to send a request to a post route, it expects something will be added to an API. So if you try to create a new to-do, then it's going to expect that you are trying to add a new to-do. So for example, let's say let me create a new route that is called create to-do. Okay. And then there's the request as normally as it is, request and respond. Okay. For now, I'm just going to call it short for REQ and RES, right? But you can call it whatever you want. Because like the first parameter is always your request. The second one is your response. Okay. Now, if let's say I'm trying to create a new to-do right here. It's like if you are trying to add something to your API, then you should always use this one. Okay. Now let me try to create a new to-do. So as the name say, right? How do you expect a user to pass data right here? But like you're trying to create a new to-do, so you expect your users to pass in the title, okay, as well as the ID of the to-do that they are trying to create, right? So for example, I'm trying to create a to-do with an ID of 4 and then the title of 5 to do or whatever. So how do I get the variable or the data from the client? Remember, you have an access to this request right here, right? So this variable will always contain the information from the client. Okay, so request.body.params means that whatever the user has added in the parameters, in the body. So for example, they have added the title in here, so you can access it through like this, request.body.title. Okay, let me show you guys an example right here. Okay, so here's the body right here. So all I say is request.body.title. So that's gonna point to this object right here. Okay. So yeah, that's how you do it. Now let me try to get it to do from these variable. So what I'm gonna do is title request.body.title. Okay, and the ID will be request.body.id. So because they have to pass it in here through the body right here. Okay. And before I do that, let me console the log request.body. Okay. And then let me stop this server right here. And then after this, because we're trying to add a data, right? We need to push it to this array. So, and it's an array of object. So I can just say data dot push, okay, to do. So this to do will be pushed to this array right here. Okay. Now after that, respond dot send, because you have to respond something whenever you are trying to work in the Express. Okay, you must always respond something. If not, then like I said, your request will be endless. Okay, so to do in this case, I'm trying to send a response with a to do, right? This to do. Now let me save this now. Okay, so how do I test this route? By the way, yeah, whenever you try to test it through your browser, this only works for the get request only, because you're not actually passing in information, right? So if you try to send a post request or try to go to a post route, then it wouldn't work right here. Oh, okay, I forgot to set my server. So no more server.js. Okay, my server is now listening. But if I try to go to this one, then it won't work. You can see that I cannot get right here. There will be an error. But you can use it through the Insomnia or Postman, right? So yeah, always use a Postman on Insomnia to test your API right here. So what I'm going to do now is, in here, okay, in here, let me try to create a new to-do using this route, all right? So the route name is called create to-do, okay? And what is the type of the method? You can see that right here, define. So for get method, you define it like this. In this case, it's a post method, right? So I click on this post and then post, okay? Now it expects us to pass in the data. Now what is the data? Title and the ID, okay? So you can pass in title like this. And by the way, if you're wondering where I get this one, click on the JSON right here. Yeah. If you want to pass a data to your API, then you use it like this. So let me create a for to do. And the ID will be 4. Okay. So for to do with an ID of 4 right here. Now let me try to send this request now and see what happens. It's going to return a 500 internal server error. Now, why is this happening? And even though, you can see that when I console log the information, this body parameter, okay, I get undefined. Now, why is this? Because for data to be saved, they are disregarded right here. Okay, because like we didn't tell our Express app to use the data from the body. Okay, so Express just throw that information in the variables that's passed in the body right here. Okay, if we want to use this one, we need to fix this one. We need to say express.use, okay, app.use, sorry, JSON right here. Use data pass client, okay, or sorry, use body, okay, body object pass in by client. So right here, now we have access to it. So this one command is going to use or will have access to this body parameter right here. Okay, so now if I save now, let me try to send this again. Send. What the heck? Respond is not defined. Oh, it's actually res, not respond. Res. All right, anyway, now this should work. And there we go. Because I told my Express to use the body pass in by the client right here, right? App.use express.json. So now I have access to this one. So if I look my console now, you can see that the data passed in by the client is title and the ID. Now I can pass in any information I want right here. Okay, so I can pass in anything. So for example, let's say like this, right? What the? Oh, I can pass in anything. Let's say like, And then let me send this request again. And then go back to my console. You can see that, this is the data that that is not added right here, okay? So extra object right here, sorry, extra property, okay? So yeah, that's how you send a request to the GitHub, sorry, to your API on GitHub. All right, let me just push this code up. 1 second, yeah, let me indent all these one. All right, now this looks better. So yeah, just to recap now, we're listening on the port 800 right here. Okay, and then we have a static route, we have a dynamic route. Okay, so the dynamic route is just a variable passed in the URL right here. Okay, and then we have created a post route. Now there's two other methods called two other routes that are delete and put. Okay, now I'm just going to explain what they are, right? So delete means that it will delete something from an API. Okay, as the name says. Put is kind of different. It's what it's supposed to do. So put will update existing data on the API. Okay, and delete will delete the data. Okay, now why put will update the existing data on the API? Why can't we use a post route? Remember, post is to create a new data, not to update an existing data. Okay, so if you want to update an existing data that's already on the API, then you use a put. Okay, if you want to delete them, then you use a delete. So yeah, that's how you define an API. All right, let me push the code. Okay. All right. Let me go back and then come back here. Refresh. Yeah, anyway, yeah, I think this will be the end of the session. Any questions though, guys? And by the way, yeah, I do recommend going through this one. Just clone this one, and then if you haven't managed to, if you didn't manage to follow through, then yeah, just clone this one, and then I added in the README file, and then you can just run through a quick recap by yourself. And if any questions, then yeah, do feel free to ask me. By the way, guys, any questions? Yeah.
Not yet for me.
Okay, cool. What about the rest of you? Oh,
So far, no.
So far,
okay,
nothing.
cool. Yeah, PO, did you say something? I didn't quite catch it.
Oh, sorry. I mean, so far, no questions.
All right, cool. Yeah, let me stop the recording. Oh, by the way, guys, if you are wondering where you can rewatch the video, then yeah, no worries. Yeah, I'll post it on the Pathforge, and then you guys can rewatch it there, or just yeah. Okay, cool. Let me stop it now. Stop.